You know, it may be that game development is not what you think it is. If you are in a situation where it takes you too long to learn something, and you know, whenever you do a project, you just feel like it's not to the standard that I wanted. It's not what I had in my mind, and it took me so long, and still not really good, right? And I started with this game development journey 12 years ago. At the time, it was Unreal Engine 3, also called as UDK, Unreal Development Kit. It was very fun, and I was obsessed with it. I had a passion for it. At that time, I was really passionate about learning all this new stuff for me. That at the time, because I was studying in college software engineering, I was into programming, and after I found 3D, I just felt like it was fascinating, and I would just go there, and just like today, there were plenty of tutorials and resources where you can just learn 3D, and most of them were really technical, and it was about the bottom, right? It was about learning that thing, learning that new feature to make your life better. And I start with very little. I start learning little by little how to model simple stuff, how to make UVs, how to model more complex shapes eventually. But while I felt like I was improving, there was always that time when I saw someone making something and I can copy it. It's like, yeah, I can do this if I watch your tutorial. But I could never happen to make it myself. And I always thought there was something wrong with me, that maybe I have no talent for this. Maybe just some people just learn faster, or they just see things that I cannot see. And nevertheless, I still had a big passion for it, so I'm very stubborn when I like something, and I just continue with that path for several years. So eventually I got quite good. After many years, I think it was 2019, that I got hired at Ubisoft. And I did my art test. Everything went good. At that time, I went for several mentorships. I feel like the best way for me back then was to just enroll a very expensive course, like $800 from CG Masters Academy. Follow a path, you know, finish a project, and having someone who's been there and done that to teach me exactly what to do. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot during that time. I think it was 1 year of this kind of mentorships and expensive courses. So in the end, it really was worth it, right? I mean, at the end, I got the job at Ubisoft, and of course, I recovered the money I spent during my training years. But then, when I went to Ubisoft, the real challenge began. Because, you know, there were several projects working at that time. Obviously, at that time, it was Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the one that they were working on at the time at that studio in China. There were some other projects, and one of them was Skull and Bones. And if you know, Skull and Bones didn't go quite well. It was I don't know much about it, but it was quite a disaster. I mean, when I talk about like the sales, you know, when it's like the people just didn't like the game. And working on that project was very different from working on an established IP like Assassin's Creed, where my life would have been totally easy at that time, because it's like, hey, I need you to make this level. I join as a level artist. I just need you to do this. And that's it. No need to think too much. Like, if you do exactly what they tell you, life's gonna be great. But the Skull and Bones had a lot of issues. And they didn't have this guide like Assassin's Creed where it's like, hey, like, you just do this and it's gonna work out. It worked out before, it's gonna work later. And Skull and Bones just didn't have that. So it required me to think a lot and propose the solutions myself. And that was really hard because I was like at that time, 12 years ago, watching that tutorial, thinking I can do that as long as you show me how. And then I'm in this situation where, okay, now you need to do this, and there's no one there to guide you. And you know, I had pretty good skills, to be honest. My skills were really technical at that point. I know a lot of software skills. Believe me or not, several people still didn't use Substance back then. They just use Photoshop because that's what they used for several years, and change is hard. So I had an advantage when it comes to the gadget list. You know, I had some arsenals in my pocket where I can use to my advantage. But it got really hard because no matter what I do, there's always this question where, why is my stuff not looking good enough? Technically it's fine. I know how to model, I know how to texture, I know all the technical stuff related to the game engine. And it just doesn't please my eye or anyone else. And it was a real challenge. So I was getting tired of this 3D grind and I got frustrated. So one of the things that I did was just to go dance, learn to dance at night. It was something that was really refreshing, and I didn't really think about improving in dance, although that's another story for another day. But I enjoyed quite a lot. It was fun. For the first time after many years, I was having fun. And you could see it in my face, like I was really happy. I was really happy. Especially because it's something I do after work. You do something after work like makes you really happy. If you wanna know like just how to be more happy, just need to be happy the day before and just continue the streak. If you had a bad day and you're unhappy the next day, you're probably gonna continue the same. So I had a streak of happiness that led me to actually, let's just learn something different. I've been skipping this part for a long time where, you know, I should have learned some art fundamentals. Painting, anatomy, you know, all the foundation, right? And don't get me wrong, I did study those, but I wasn't really committed. Like, I did study from here and there, but I felt like it was a waste of time because I didn't see it reflected on my work. And the reason is, I thought that because I'm studying something different, like painting, for example, like painting a rock, how does painting a rock actually help me to make the most badass rock in 3D with all that lining and textures and materials and shaders? I feel like a complete disconnection between painting and learning composition that had nothing to do with game development. So I felt like it was a waste of time. But this time, because I didn't really wanted to get better, I just focused on learning the art foundation for years. Like at least a couple of years where I just paint. I just paint, but not paint whatever. I did enroll to some courses, some of them quite expensive, some of them cheaper. And I learned the foundation of painting. And basically what I did was just copying. Just copying like a landscape, a body, any kind of subject. The subject wasn't really important. The important thing was that I was learning the foundation of it. And after several months, I could see a big change in my 3D work. And notice that I didn't practice 3D at all. In fact, I consider myself kind of like a dinosaur when it comes to the tech advantage. It's funny how tables have turned. Before I was really heavy into tech, and now I'm kind of avoiding it because I know that the important thing is not it. It's the things you know inside. And this foundation start to show up in my work. I was starting to make decisions based on instincts, based on why this thing looks good and why this thing doesn't look good. It was a complete subjective subject for a long time for me. It was very subjective for me before. It's like, why does this thing look good? I don't understand. I just know it does. And after practicing for quite a long part of my life, those art foundations like composition and painting and more anatomy, it started reflecting on my work. It was like a hidden part where you just can't see it. It wasn't like these passive skills that you get in the game that don't actually reflect, but suddenly when you have a lot of them, your character becomes much stronger, but nothing really changed. Like maybe you didn't increase like the number of combos here, like you didn't increase the number of attacks or have a new skill. You just increase the passive stuff, like move a little bit faster, getting a little bit stronger and everything. And after that, my work was just phenomenal. It was just really good. Now, after many years, I left Ubisoft. I still did work on Skull and Bones my whole time. And I did quite a lot of cool things. Like I made an island that has a tiger shape. Like it was really cool, outside and inside. I made a couple of islands there. I work on some towers, and you know, I was really proud of it. I could continue that path and just go on for it. But for personal reasons that maybe I can change, I can tell you in another video, like I left. But it took me just, if you think about it, I was doing 3D for probably 10 years at that point. And it only took me 6 months to improve drastically my ability to do 3D without actually doing 3D. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because maybe you're just trying to take some shortcuts like I did before. And for me, after many years, and I'm applying this for everything that I do now, is the foundation. When the foundation is strong, you can just do whatever you want. And I realized there is foundation in everything. There is foundation in dancing. There is foundation in training, in bodyweight training, calisthenics. There is even foundation for learning RTS games. I don't know if you know about this, but I'm heavily invested into Age of Empires 4. I'm really practicing the foundation. There is foundation in art. There is foundation in programming. There is a foundation in everything we do. And it's the most overlooked aspect of whatever is it that we're doing, the foundation is what it's the carry. It's gonna carry you. If you have a good foundation, just no matter what you do, it's just gonna be so easy. It's so easy. Like, if you're really good at painting, like you have a really good foundation, and you train your eye, and then suddenly you decide, you know what? I'm gonna go into game development. Like, how hard it could be. I put my hands on fire here that this person, it's gonna learn 10 times faster compared to a person who's doesn't have any foundation and just go there. I'm gonna learn game development and I'm just gonna watch game development tutorials. You know, that's the way. And why it's true that both persons will get better over time. The one that already has a foundation, if you are a really good painter and you just go there, do game dev, it will take you a while to learn some stuff. You know, navigate the engine, learn the technical stuff of things. Not a big deal, to be honest. It can be learned after some months. But then when you learn how to use the pen, because that's exactly what it is. Learning to use the engine is like learning how to use the pen. The important thing is what you do with it, how you paint with it. It's not a pen, right? But you need to use the pen in order to draw, right? It is an important aspect of it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to. But it's not the most important thing. And that's what most people think in the game development field, is that they think that learning the engine is just the most important thing. And it's not. It's not. Because learning how to use the pen doesn't automatically make you a great artist. In fact, you could be the worst artist in the world and be the one who holds the pen the better, right? So maybe game development is not what you think. Like, after so many years in game development, I realized something. Then that game development has nothing to do with game development itself. And it has everything to do with different disciplines that just casually happen to be combined to create what you see on the screen. It just happens that a great artist, regardless of the medium, has a solid foundation, knows what makes things look pretty, has trained, has not skipped that part, happens to meet with a programmer that happens to have a very strong foundation in programming, which has developed his logic, his thinking, his ability to solve problems that cannot be skipped. Cannot you just watch a tutorial and immediately like increase your ability to just solve problems. That just happens to meet with a great musician that was just playing music, but really didn't think about going into games. And just happened to meet together and create something. It's not like, oh, I'm a game developer and I meet with another game developer and we just create something. And for me, if you're struggling with the speed of how you are improving in game development, it's just that. It is just that. It's just the passive skills, you know, the things that you cannot see. I like to call these non-transferable skills, where no matter what happens, you can't skip that phase. You need to go to the foundation. And as soon as that foundation is finished, guess what? The foundation is not gonna last forever. There is a good player, one of the best players in the world that plays Age of Empires 4. he always talks about what the foundation is the most important thing. How it is that learning the strategy, learning your mechanical skills, it's very, very important at the beginning. And later on, when he plays, he says, I just don't think, I just do. And another dance teacher that told me, hey, remember, what you're learning here is not dancing. And I was like, what do you mean what I'm learning here is not dancing? Aren't we in a dance class? It's like, yeah, but these are very mechanical moves that you'll need to learn in order to become a good dancer. This is not dance. This is just tools. These are tools you can use in your dance. But we're not learning to dance. These are just tools. This is the foundation that will actually help you later when you want to express your dance. Because if you think about it, dancing is such a universal concept everyone can understand. And everyone can dance. You cannot say someone cannot dance just because they haven't taken some classes. If you go to a club, there's some people just enjoying the music, just moving around, moving their head, whatever, without even taking any class. Well, is the move pretty? Well, maybe not. But they are dancing. They are enjoying the moment. But what happens is when you learn the foundation and then you go dance, then everyone thinks like, is this guy dancing and enjoying? Yeah, I think so. And does it look pretty? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I don't think anyone can do that. I don't think I can just copy what he does. It's just can't. It's impossible. It's against the laws of nature. This guy has been training for years. It's impossible you just see it and copy it. And that's the hidden part. That's the hidden part of it. And you can't skip it. And there are so many incentives out there for you to skip it. Like, watch this tutorial, learn this new feature, learn this thing, learn this. Oh, now this new software came out, just try it out. Those are distractions. Don't get me wrong, those are important. I mean, you need to use them anyway. But there is a time and place to learn them. And do you know, how do you know if the tutorial it's gonna be useful for you or not in your foundation? It's very easy. Many years ago, I took a Scott Eaton class. It was anatomy for the face. And it was many years ago, probably 8 years ago. And guess what? If I watch the same video today, if I watch it, it's still relevant. And if the video was 20 years ago, it's still relevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be updated. Foundations rarely get updated. That's why they're called foundations. And there are so many things in the internet that are just gonna get irrelevant in the future. For example, like there is a new way to model something in Unreal Engine 5. Great. Good to know if you can learn it. But guess what? Maybe Unreal Engine 6 or Unreal Engine 7 change completely the way you model things. Maybe you just write to the AI. What do you want? Or I don't know. Like, it's just so many possibilities out there that could happen in many years. We don't know about it. Then suddenly the tutorial you watch about how to model in Unreal Engine 5 was useless. And that's what happens when you learn something that is, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but it's not the most important thing. Whereas if you learn, you know, how to model something, maybe use model with clay, sculpture, You can even use ZBrush or any other 3D app to simulate the sculpture. But the important thing is that you learn how to create stuff. You have a vision and you know how to make it because you know how to see. And in the 3D world, your biggest advantage is your eye. The eye that sees every mistake and everything that makes what it makes things look good and what it makes things look bad. That is your most important asset. It really doesn't matter if in 10 years the technology changes, because if you just train your eye, you're gonna be able to judge whether something is good or bad. So don't waste your time on things that are not important. I believe it was Jim Rohn that said, like, don't major in minor things. And I think that's a really powerful thing to remember. Work on the hard stuff. Work on the stuff that is hidden, that many people are not really considering it, learning it, because it's just like, I just don't wanna paint a rock, you know. I just wanna do this thing in a Unreal Engine 5. I wanna make all the most badass rock. I want to put those shaders, that lighting, and I have that button. I just download that plugin that will just make everything look amazing. And they just follow that path, but they completely ignore the other one. And I'm giving you this advice because I made that mistake for myself for years. And you can save yourself from doing these mistakes. You can save years of your game development journey if you just stop for a while, go slow, and actually, okay, what is the foundation here? What are there some skills that I can learn that nobody can take away from me, like forever? And you will look into those foundations. You will look into art if you are into the visual side of things. If you are into music, you will look into music. If you're into programming, you will deep dive into the programming to train your logic. Whatever is it that you want to learn, make sure you stop for a while. Stop going fast. Just let's take a break. Let's learn the foundation. And then when you are good with the foundation, then you can just go, you know what? I want to make a game. And it's gonna be so much easier. It's like, you have no idea how easy it will be when it's like, man, I painted 100, 200 portraits. I trained anatomy. I painted several landscapes. And I also trained design, and I just know things that I cannot explain to you, but I know them. Like I've been to this kind of training. And when you go make a game, learning the tools is the easy part. Easy. Wanna make a... In fact, it's so easy that it's free. A bunch of tutorials online, they are free. You should never, and this is an advice from me to you, never pay for a tutorial that teaches you how to use the engine, because it's irrelevant in so many years. Never pay for that. That's like paying someone to teach you how to use the pen. Should be free, right? Just ask some advice. Someone who already knows how to paint. Hey, how you hold the pen? Oh, just like this. Don't spend too much time about it. Don't spend money on it. But if you really need to spend money on Art Foundation. And guess what? That's the thing that is not very common online. That's the boring part, you know. That's the part that everyone wants to avoid. But once you make it Once you already have that skill, it's just gonna be so much easy for you. Everything's gonna be so much easy. And it has nothing to do with game development. It has nothing to do whether you use Unreal or Unity or Godot or whatever. Has nothing to do with the tool. Has nothing to do with Blender or 3ds Max. Has nothing to do whether you use Photoshop or Substance. Has nothing to do with that. And it has everything to do with the skill you already have inside. That non-transferable skill that you already developed for so many years. And that's right. It takes years. I'm not gonna lie. But you still can see some improvement in some months. Exponential improvement. But it takes years to become a master. But it's totally worth it. Just think about it, a couple of years and you will be carried for the rest of your career if you decide to be in game development. You will be carried by your own skills. Like everything's just gonna be so easy. Because learning the tool is easy. It's just gonna take some time. A little bit. But it's not hard. It's not hard to remember a button. It's not hard to know how to navigate around a software. It's just not hard. What is hard is your critical thinking that you develop over time by training those fundamental skills. And that, my friend, is my advice to you. Focus on that. Don't fall into the trap of so many options online. So many paths to take, and if you are learning very slow, probably it's just because of that. I'm gonna wrap up this video, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, let me know in the comments, and probably I will make more of those in the future.